Hi everyone, this is Lucas John. You are watching Creators Hunt. This is an interview with Jay Yang, hosted by my co-host Claudia. So here you go. Bye.
So, welcome, Jay, to our podcast. Thanks for joining us. And at first, I'd love you to introduce yourself to our listeners. So, maybe tell us who you are, what you do, why people should follow you, and this stuff.
Yeah, so my name is Jay Yang. I am a 16-year-old creator, writer, and designer. Right now, I'm writing on Twitter and Instagram, and I talk about writing, storytelling, and I make visuals to distill complex ideas.
So, at first, I'd love to talk about your Instagram journey because I guess that Instagram is the platform where you've been experiencing a lot of growth recently, right?
Yeah.
And the my first question is, how did you start creating on Instagram and why?
Yeah, so I started Instagram a little over a year ago. So I was just finishing up with my YouTube journey. So long story short, I started a music promotion YouTube channel. I did that for a few months, but I burned out. I like music, but I don't like music. So I quit that, but I got inspired by Simon Sinek and Eddie Pinero. At that same time, I was just starting my personal development journey. So I was working out, reading self-help books. Um, so I decided to document that on Instagram. So I was, posting self-improvement stuff like, you should be grateful today. What are you grateful for? All the like the motivational cliche things. But at that time, that's kind of where I was at in the journey. And through that process, um, and kind of just iterated on that way. So I started getting into online business, started getting into writing, got a little bit into marketing. And so the Instagram page kind of just grew with me. And so I talked less about working out and more about writing, storytelling. I started creating visuals. And so that's kind of what led to where I'm at now.
Awesome. How long did it take you to reach 10K followers on Instagram?
Yeah, it took me 9 months to get to 10,000 followers.
Incredible. What do you think are the main factors that helped you to achieve this?
Honestly, just quality content. I mean, in those 9 months, I like I saw other creators what they were doing and I kind of like imitated them and then innovated off of them. So I through those 9 months, I worked a lot on my design skills. Before I started Instagram, I had no clue what design was, but I used an app called Canva and I kind of worked with that. And then I'd also say creating real friendships and relationships with other creators. So in the beginning, I would like cold DM like 20 creators every day, and I would just like say, hey, I like your content. You want to connect? And doing that for the 9 months kind of led to where I'm at.
Yeah, awesome. And what would you advise to someone who is just starting his Instagram journey? Because, for example, me, I've been on Instagram for like 2 weeks and so far have 50 followers. What is something you would advise someone like me to maybe accelerate my growth a little bit?
Yeah, for you personally, I'd say just engage with other creators. I know you're making a few visuals, like just talk to some of the other visual creators, comment on their posts, check in, add value. Especially in the beginning, like every follower is like another like 50% of your following. So just making those one-on-one establishing connections. And then as you grow, like where I'm at now, you don't have to do that as much. And then you can start focusing on bigger collaborations with other creators. So for me right now, I'm collaborating with people like Justin Scott and Joe Holka. Like it becomes less like one-on-one engagement and more sharing each other's content.
Yeah, so you think that, there is a rule that if you want to grow on Twitter, then you need to often engage with others and comment on other people's stuff. You think that the same applies to Instagram as well?
Yeah, definitely. Both platforms are very similar in that way.
Okay. And my next question is, tell me about your content strategy. So how often do you post? How do you maybe repurpose your content and this stuff? How often do you engage with others?
Yeah, so for the last 9 months, I've created an Instagram post every single day. I have not missed a day for those straight 9 months through school, vacations, everything. And one way I did that, like I don't actually design every single day, is I batch content. So throughout the week, I'll collect ideas, and then on the weekends, I'll write the captions and I'll design the posts. And I'll sometimes batch like 30 pieces of content. So then I don't have to worry about it as much. Um, as far as engaging, I engaged with a lot of different creators a lot more when I was just starting out, but now I'm focusing on building systems and not necessarily about as much about the one-on-one connections. What was your other question?
Oh, yeah, I think that's all I wanted to know. And yeah, now I actually forgot what I wanted to ask, but how long do those batch batch designing session take usually?
Now I can get it down to like, 1 or 2 hours at most, but in the beginning I was spending upwards of, 3 to 4 hours because I was still playing around with Canva, learning the ins and outs of it, but now I have templates and systems I just, plug and play in there.
Yeah, sure. I think that batch writing is really the key. I do it very often that I just sit down in the morning and batch write all of my tweets. It's so important for consistency because I often I just don't have to care about the stuff and it's basically coming up on its own and it's just so much more effortless when you batch content. So that's a really important point. Thanks for mentioning that. And uh, so you also have a good amount of following on Twitter, and I think that you hit 4,000 followers in 4 months, right?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
yesterday I hit 4,000 followers.
yeah. Congrats, that's awesome milestone. And so, what did you do every single day to achieve this in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar to my Instagram journey, except that I started with experience from Instagram. In the beginning, I would tweet upwards of 15 to 20 times a day, just getting the hang of Twitter, just learning what works, what formats, what ideas, engaging with a lot of creators one on one. And then as I iterated and I started to grow a little bit more, I started focusing on writing threads and building content systems and then, repurposing ideas. So really in the beginning, it's about quantity, it's about volume because quantity leads to quality. If I didn't write those 20 tweets every single day, then I wouldn't get to my, great tweets right now. So it's if you're starting, don't worry about like writing the perfect tweet or making the perfect Instagram post. It's really about getting it out there, listening to the feedback and, asking for feedback and then improving on that.
Yeah, for sure. My life philosophy is really that you need to just get started, get going, and then get good. Like I love the visual from Jack Butcher when there are like three types of people: the perfectionist, procrastinator, and iterator. And I really often address this visual in my content because it's just so important to understand this stuff. So yeah, awesome. And how did you get on Twitter from Instagram?
That's a great question. I don't actually remember. I was I believe I was looking at Ross Harkness's Instagram profile and I kind of just clicked through his links and I found him on Twitter. And then I found Dan Coe on Twitter. And then I kind of just, as I followed them, like my account kind of turned into the money Twitter space. And I kind of found that like small corner of Twitter. And I just loved it. I like the maturity of the ideas there, the smart people. So I kind of like Twitter better than Instagram now just because of the people I can learn from.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Twitter is awesome platform. So many great people there, and it's really easy to connect there. And when did you start on Twitter?
Around 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, I remember that I discovered you somewhere in April or March, and I was absolutely mind blown by your content. It was so good to me because a lot of people on Twitter just tweet the same stuff over and over again. They just use the same templates, the same concepts, and this is quite annoying. But when I saw your tweets, they were really unique to me, and that's what resonated with me. So I started following you, and especially what I liked is that you are 16 and you're not afraid to show it, because I was creating content since like November, but always anonymously because I was afraid that people will judge me for my age. But you were the inspiration to not being afraid of that sort of. So I'd like to thank you for that.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
my question is, did you have any imposter syndrome because of your age, or were you just okay with it?
Yeah, I'd say I always followed the principle of learn in public, where I don't like position myself as an authority, as an expert or a guru. I'm real with people. I say, hey, I'm not there yet. Not the expert yet. So I'm just going to document my journey of becoming that expert. And to be honest, the only feedback I've gotten about my age has been positive. Like, wow, you're doing such a great job. You're only 16. So no one's really ever said, why are you doing this? You should be playing outside. You're 16. But yeah, so it's been a positive experience and really just being real with people. Like, I'm not gonna say you should do this or you should do that. I'm just saying this is what I'm doing. This is what's working for me. This is why you should do it.
Yeah, this is so true. I think that I've never experienced any negative comment on that too. And when I firstly revealed my age, I was absolutely mind blown by how the good comments were. I was like, this is insane. Why I, why I was so afraid of showing my age. Like, I don't get it. And yeah, the thing with learning in public is so true. I remember somewhere in like February, I had a really huge imposter syndrome because I was talking with my friend about what I'm doing on Twitter, and he had so many comments that I almost quit because of him. He was like, "You think that someone is ever going to trust you, or someone is ever going to care about you?" And then I realized that I don't really have to teach anyone. I can just share my insights, what I'm learning, and that's how I actually kept going in this mindset, helping to push through this era of huge imposter syndrome. So I really resonate with this. And my next question is, you, in one Twitter thread, you mentioned that you were able to connect with people like Danny Miranda or Danko. And I also noticed that you follow each other. And my question is, how did you achieve that? Because I always think that it's so hard to connect with these creators. So how did you do that?
Yeah, so the big thing for me is I try not to put bigger creators on the pedestal. They're humans just like, you and me. So what I do is I just pretend they're just like another human being. So like I'll be the first to their tweets and add a meaningful comment, give compliments. Like for Danny Miranda specifically, I went through like most of his podcast episodes on YouTube. So his YouTube's on the smaller side right now. And I would go back to like podcasts from a year ago and I would listen to them and then I would, give him my feedback. I say, I love this podcast, love how you asked this question. Great work here. And I think he could just sense that I was enjoying his content and I wasn't like trying to get anything from them. Like I just like for Dan Coe and Danny Miranda especially, I just really love what they're building. For Danny Miranda, I think he's building something special with his podcast. And Dan, I think he'd be like the next Tim Ferriss with his like he's writing several books right now. I just love the way he thinks about human potential and creativity. So it's not like I was ever trying to get anything from them. I was just admiring their work and telling them.
Yeah, awesome. I think that yeah, this mindset is really important because this is actually something that Twitter helped me to understand a lot, that we're all on the same page, and the people I look up to, they just have more experience and they have put in more hours, but that's it. And this helped me to connect with a lot of cool people too. So yeah. And my last question probably will, what would you advise to someone who is trying to build following online?
Just start. I mean, that's really it. Start, you'll figure it out, you'll get feedback. Um, as long as you don't quit, it's like impossible not to grow. If you show up every day, it's just inevitable. Time just has to catch up.
Yeah, that's really important. So starting is always the most important part, and so many people struggle with it. But yeah, the fact is, you don't have to overthink it. Just write a tweet or something, and that's basically it. I love this quote that says, "The path reveals itself as it's traveled," and I kind of live by this quote too. So whenever I just want to start something, I start, and then I figure out on the go. So thank you, Jay, for being here. I think that you have some really fantastic insights in audience building, and this will be really valuable for our listeners. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This is fun.
So that was it for this episode of our podcast. I hope you liked it. But if you're not a good listener, you can subscribe to our newsletter where we publish transcription of our podcast and some exciting updates. So you can check it out. Link is in the description. Bye.